Welcome everyone to today's LACERS Estate Planning webinar. Today we will feature three speakers. We'll have Erica, Claudia, and Janet. But first we'll start with Erica. Erica is a social worker too for the City of Los Angeles Department of Aging, who specializes in working with the older adult population and family caregivers by providing services, referrals, training, and field education to older adults, family caregivers, professionals, and college students interested in the aging field. Erica is also the case management program supervisor for the Los Angeles Department of Aging and provides supervisory skills in dealing with client issues, client documentation, and support to the case managers in 18 senior centers. Erica holds a Master's of Social Work degree from the University of Southern California. Now we'll have Erica.
All right, good morning, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. I love speaking with all of our LACERS group, our retirees, those that haven't quite retired yet. Like Stephanie said, I've worked alongside Crystal and Stephanie, and it's been a pleasure. So when they said, hey, you want to speak for this group, I said, absolutely, no questions asked. I would love to, because we all need to have these important talks. We don't do it enough. So anytime that I can be involved in something like this, it's an honor to be here. So thank you for having me. And I hope we get some good information today. And we'll get started. So I'm going to share my screen so I can put up my PowerPoint. All right, so today I'm going to talk about advanced planning. So my portion of today's talk is through a social work, social services lens. And our co-presenter will go more into the legal aspect of advanced planning and estate planning. All right, we all should have something in place. Being aware of a person's rights and options, because sometimes we know what we want to do, but what are my rights regarding that? What are my options regarding that? And I always believe that advanced planning, estate planning is a part of self-care and advocating for yourself, for your wishes, for whatever you want to happen. You're doing that. You're advocating for yourself. No one is going to do it for you. You have to do it for yourself and start sooner rather than later. And then what are the important resources? What are the forums that are out there? What are the websites that I can go to for more information? What are the groups that can maybe help? And you guys have a wonderful organization being involved with LACERS. You already have a foundation there with having them. They're having these talks. They have options for you. So you have a good start regarding this topic. So the importance of preparation. We all know life happens. Okay, we all know that. Why? Because prior to March of last year, we were moving along, we were working, we were enjoying retirement, we were going out, we were going to brunch, we were, enjoying life. But then life happens, right? COVID happens, the pandemic happens, and everything changed, right? There may have been, you may have to stay at home, loss of engagement, not being able to work, people lost jobs. So much has happened in the past year and a half that it highlighted the notion that we were not as prepared as maybe we thought we were, right? But also caring for the elderly is more challenging than ever before. Why? Because we're living longer. I coordinate a program, the Asian Mastery Program, and in the first topic with navigating longer lives is talking about the gift of time. And what are we doing with that time? Are we using it to the best of our capacity, our ability? We're doing everything that we need to do because we are living longer. So are you doing everything that you need to do to prepare? There's a rising cost in healthcare and medications. There's a lack of affordable housing. There's just financial challenges on our family members, our support circle. Things are just harder than they were before, right? So that's why it's so important to prepare because you never know what can happen. Also, interfamily disputes are time consuming. Being a social worker and working specifically with older adults for the last 11 years, I've seen the good, the bad, the ugly. Even also, I used to live on site in a senior housing building. So I saw firsthand as an emergency responder after hours, I saw firsthand how family disputes can be very time consuming Money issues can destroy loving relationships, and people would fight over once one of our residents had passed away. Then you see this, a lot of headbutting and fighting. And we were like, wow, this person we didn't have no paperwork on this person. We don't know what that person wanted. We can't trust. We never seen these family members, but as soon as they passed away, here come they pop up. They want access to all of their money and documents, and it can really, really destroy loving relationships. So that's why it's important to have these conversations. Start talking to family members now if you haven't already, or it doesn't even have to be a family, whoever's in your support circle that you trust, that you have that connection with. It's so important to talk about it now, because I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. And families, they need to come together to make decisions regarding the healthcare and the financial matters, right? And doing what's right, okay? Upholding that person's wishes. And then lastly, it takes the guesswork. You may not know what mom wants, or your sister wants, or your spouse wants. And if you've already had that conversation, it's now you know, and having it done before a person becomes incapacitated, because at that point it can be too late. So some important issues to consider: cultural differences. I know that talking about advanced planning can be taboo, right? And we associate it with death and dying. But really, advanced planning, estate planning, it's not about death and dying. It's about preparation. Just like we have life insurance, just like we have car insurance in case we get in an accident, health insurance in case we get sick. It's just a part of preparation, because we all know we're going to pass at some point. That's inevitable, right? So why not be prepared? Why not make it as easy as possible on the next person or the loved ones that you leave behind, to take care of your financial matters or your business matters? I know we all know one person, at least, whether it's in our own family, a friend, or maybe someone we connect with on social media, that a person passed away and nothing was planned. So now they're having a GoFundMe. Now they're having a sale or a car wash just to bury their loved ones. Why do we do that? Why do we leave people with that type of burden, so to speak, when taking care of, when we could have done it ourselves, when we could have had something small in place that can alleviate that type of stress? So making decisions, making these important medical, legal decisions, having our options, having that communication, and being very specific about what you want, and being very detail oriented about it. That's very important, especially when it comes to legal matters. You got to be very, very specific. So some things to consider: what are the wishes of the individual in regards to their medical care and treatment? Who will help make that decision? So these are some things to think about, especially if you haven't already completed an advance directive. Who will make that decision? Whether it's your spouse, partner, sibling, your adult child, whoever, but making sure that once you decide and say, hey, I want it to be this person, that you have a conversation with them up front about it before you put their name down on any paperwork. It's important to have the conversation first, because you may find out they don't want that responsibility, and you're assuming that they do or will handle it no problem, but they may not want to. They may be too difficult for them. So it's important to have that conversation. And also respecting those wishes, making sure they're upheld. All right, so what are the rights? And this says of a frail person, but this is any person. Obviously, you guys know I work with a large older adult population. And a lot of times when we have these frail, low income, older adults that we see and I see in our office, a lot of people don't know or think it's too late of their options. So again, or once you may become in a frail state, you may be healthy now, but you never know what can happen. You may get sick. So once you're in that state of being frail, incapacitated, we want to know what is that person's rights, okay? So their right is to be in control of the quality of their life. So when you make these important decisions, when you put these things down on a paper, you still have the control. Even if you're incapacitated, your voice still can speak at that point. So you maintain a sense of independence, even far beyond You far beyond you making these decisions now, far beyond that, you're still in control of the quality of your life. And you understand the purpose of the treatment. You're upholding that dignity and respect, and your loved ones can uphold that. And you're honest about what you want, because a lot of times we don't want to talk to it. We don't want to talk to our adult children about it. But you may want to be cremated. They may want to bury you. But if you're adamant about that, it's important to tell the truth and to put it in writing. And then the comfort. There's a physical, emotional, spiritual aspect of all of this. And we're going to talk more about that with the 5 wishes. In dealing with change, a lot of us, we don't handle change very well. And we saw that with the pandemic, with our lives being shifted almost at an instant, that we may not deal with change as best as possible. So it's okay to be angry about change. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to laugh about it. We all have different emotions, but we have to learn how to cope with it and continue to move forward. All right, so an advance directive. An advance directive is instructions given by an individual specifying what action should be taken for a person in the event they are no longer able to make decisions due to illness or incapacity. And again, like I said, my co-presenter, Janet, will go a little bit more into the legal aspect of that, making those decisions. So an advance help, the advance, why I keep saying, can you guys hear me? I'm sorry, it keeps saying I'm muted.
You're good, Erica.
Oh, okay, good. It said the host muted me. All right, so I'm an advanced healthcare directive or medical power of attorney. Then we're going to talk about what an actual power of attorney is. And then a DNR, what all of that entails. So these documents must be completed before a person becomes incapacitated. That's why we say do not wait, do not put it off for too long, because we can have a major fall, we can hit our head, become unconscious just like that. And if you don't have these papers drawn up, then doctors are going to have to make decisions on your behalf. They may go to your next of kin. You may not want that person to be making your decision for you. So it's best to put it in writing while you have a clear, sound mind, make those decisions, and then you can have it taken care of already. You don't have to worry about it. And physicians and other healthcare professionals will look to an assigned person rather than the next of kin. They want to see this paperwork. If you have a major operation surgery, a doctor is going to ask about that. They want to know that you have these things in place, or that organization may give you their version of advanced directive or similar form, because they want to make sure that these things are covered. So the 5 wishes. So put your wishes in writing, and it's an advanced directive that incorporates a personal, emotional, and spiritual aspect. And I love that it comes in 29 different languages. So whenever I go speak, even if it's a language that I do not speak, and I go to talks about this, I can share that same information in a person's language. And I love that. So we're going to take this time. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a second and switch over to the advanced directive, or the 5 wishes, I should say. All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen once more. All right, so hopefully everyone can see.
Looks great.
All right, good. Thank you, Elijah. All right, so here we go. So everyone today is going to get a 5 wishes, a sample version. So it's going to be watermarked, okay? And then we're going to give you the option of where you can purchase. If you want to have a completed original document, then we're going to tell you where you can complete it. It's actually on the back of the form, but we'll go into that. I'll go into that. So the 5 wishes obviously has 5 different wishes that you can decide on, okay? And first things first is who will make my healthcare decision. So you will select your healthcare agent, and that person could be anyone that's an adult, okay? But also a key thing to keep in mind is an advance directive doesn't go into effect until the two medical professionals agree that you can no longer make those choices yourself, okay? As soon as you sign, it doesn't just go into effect. It has to be once you're in that incapacitated state, then these documents, this advance directive will go into effect. So again, you have to start the conversation. Who is going to be your healthcare agent, right? That may be your spouse, that may be your sibling, that may be someone at your faith-based organization, that may be your partner, whoever. You can put their name here. But again, remember I said, have the conversation first before you put their name down. And that's when that sample 5 wishes is going to come in handy, because you can make all your notes on there before you put it on the actual original document. And then you can put a secondary and third person. You know, divorces happen, people pass on. So now they can go to the next person that you select. And again, this person has to be at least 18 or over, and they should not be your doctor, nurse, no one working at a health agency or facility, an employee or a spouse of an employee of your healthcare facility, or someone that's serving as an agent already on 10 different advance directives, unless he or she is a spouse or close relative. So what decision, you may ask, what decisions am I giving this person, this healthcare agent? And it details it here. So when you get your form, you will read these different statements or authorizations that you can give a person. And if you agree with it, you just leave it as it is. But if it's anything that you do not agree with, you cross it out, okay? So something that you don't want this person to do, you can cross it out, okay? And then here you can add your own details or add more to that. All right, so wish number 2 is my wish for what type of medical treatment that I want. And the 3 options that are given on this advance directive is you want life support treatment. You do not want life support treatment if it has been started, you want it stopped. Or I want life support treatment if my doctor believes it could help, but I want my doctor to stop giving me life support treatment. Oh, so sorry. I want my doctor to stop giving me life support treatment if it is not helping my condition or symptoms. So this is based on whatever you feel, however you feel. And you make the decision in these scenarios. So if you're close to death, permanent or severe brain damage, in a coma, not expected to wake up or recover, or any condition which you do not wish to be kept alive, you can notate that here. But you will select one of those 3 in each scenario, okay? And if you're a person that does not want life support treatment, you're adamant about it, an additional step is getting a DNR, or do not resuscitate. And the way you start that is having a conversation with your doctor, and your doctor has to sign the forms. So if you are adamant about not having life support treatment and getting that, medical bracelet that says DNR, then you have to go to your doctor and they will sign the forms. Talk to your doctor about it and they can sign the forms for you to submit. All right, wish number 3, my wish for how comfortable I want to be. And this is where it gets to that, the legal stuff is 1 and 2, the wish 1 and 2, but this is where it incorporates that personal, spiritual, emotional aspect of an advance directive. And that's why I like to use this, because we have also other important aspects of our spirituality, of our personality that we want, that I should feel like you should incorporate within these documents. So how comfortable? Again, same instructions. You agree with it, leave it blank. If you do not agree with it, cross it out. But for example, it says, I wish to have warm baths often. I wish to be kept fresh and clean. I wish to have my favorite music played when possible until the time of my death. So it adds that extra personal aspect of it. Wish number 4, my wish for how I want people to treat me. Again, same instructions. If you don't agree, cross it out. I want to die in my home if that can be done. I want to have pictures of my loved ones in my room near my bed. So it asks about that. And what I want my loved ones to know is wish number 5. So you go through these, read them. And if you agree with them, just leave it how it is. And then after, you can also add, do you want to be buried or cremated? Where do you want your remains to be? But also thinking about that, and it's personal for me because I've had these discussions with my own parents. And, you know, my mother told me she already has her plot where she wants to be buried. She's very adamant about it. Her and my dad are going to be in the same plot, and they already made payments on it. So again, if you have certain requests or specific requests, are you doing everything possible to have that done at the time of your death? Have you had those conversations? Do you know how much it costs? So getting those things in order is very, very important. And then you can also add things that you want to be remembered by, or songs, or quotes, or readings, scriptures that you want to incorporate. So signing this form, so you have to obviously sign it, put your address, phone number, and dating it is very important too. And it does require 2 witnesses. And this form, because we're in the state of California, you do not have to get it notarized. You can, but you do not have to. But the 2 witnesses have to be a neutral party that is saying that you have made these decisions in a clear, sound mind. So it cannot be a family member, whether it's by adoption or blood. It cannot be someone that may benefit in some capacity from your death. Okay, so it has to be just a neutral party. It can be a friend, a neighbor, but just someone to say that you have made these decisions in a clear, sound mind. And then what to do after. I advise and recommend to give a copy to your healthcare, your primary care physician, so they can have it in your medical records. Obviously, to the person that you want to be your healthcare agent, or anyone that needs this, you would think they need this information, but definitely your doctor and the healthcare agent that you select. But it also comes at the bottom, it comes with this card that you can get, and I recommend maybe getting it laminated, but it tells a person where you have this document, and that you actually have one completed already. And then if you want to purchase one on your own, you can call to order, or if you go to their website, agingwithdignity.org, you can order your own 5 wishes, but you will receive, after this meeting, you will receive a sample copy. So that is the 5 wishes in its entirety. It's such a good document, but you can use any advance directive that is legal in the state of California. You don't have to use the 5 wishes, but just making sure that you just have an advance directive completed. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing and go back to my PowerPoint. All right, Elijah, just make sure, let me know that you can.
You are clear, yeah.
All right. Everyone you can see this?
Yes.
All right, so here we are. So that is again, that's the 5 wishes, and such a great document, but again, you don't have to use the 5 wishes. You can use any advance directive that is legal in the state of California. So the benefits of having an advance directive, a person's voice is heard when they can no longer speak. And I really believe that's what estate planning, that's what advanced planning is all about. Your voice is still heard when you can no longer speak, okay? When you're incapacitated or you have passed on, your voice is still being heard. And document your wishes pertaining to your whatever medical, physical state that you're in, your incapacitated state. And it documents a DNR order, but it's not an actual DNR. So again, if you're adamant about not having life support treatment, get that DNR, because if medical professionals, if you're having a heart attack or you need CPR in some capacity, they're going to do everything they can to keep you alive, okay? So again, if you do not want life support treatment, complete a DNR. Talk to your primary care physician, complete a DNR. Because if they don't know you haven't, you know, if you have a medical emergency, your first thought is not, oh, hold on, let me grab my 5 wishes so the paramedics can see that I have this. That is not going to be your first train of thought initially. So they're going to do everything they can to keep you alive. And when we go into a power of attorney, that documents wishes pertaining to money and property. So we're now going to go into those topics. So if you go into cardiac arrest, pulmonary arrest, requires CPR, that's when a DNR is in effect. All right, so power of attorney. I'm going to go through these very minimally because we have a wonderful Janet that's going to talk more in detail about these legal documents. I'm coming from a social work lens, a social services lens, so I'm not going to go into all the legalities of these particular documents. But what is a power of attorney? It's authorizing a person to handle your legal matters on someone else's behalf in a legal or business matter. So this is not for, afterlife. This is for, they can handle this stuff right away, or when you authorize them to, when you give that person an authorization, they can start handling your matters whenever you decide. The power is to act on someone's behalf can be specified. So if you've ever seen a power of attorney document, it has a list of all of these matters or authorizations you can give a person. You can choose specific ones. You can say, hey, this person can handle all of these things. But that's in a nutshell what a power of attorney document. You're giving a person an authorization for legal and business matters, financial matters. A will and testament. So it's instructions pertaining to distribution of money and property. And this is now after a person has passed on. And again, like I mentioned before, a person may say, hey, I don't have much to leave a person. Doesn't matter. Do it anyway. Complete a will anyway. You can get something very simplistic. It doesn't have to be this long drawn out document. Get it notarized. You can get a living trust, get it notarized, but no matter what type of property or possessions you have, get some type of legal document in place. So again, it's a legal declaration by which a person identifies how to distribute his or her property at death. And regardless of social economic status, a will is appropriate to have. All right, so caregiving. I cannot stress how important this aspect of advanced planning is knowing if I have a fall right now and I no longer can live independently, live in my home, is my, do you have your spouse to take care of you, or is that person frail and cannot take care of you? Do you have an adult child that can come in and take care of you? Or if you don't have that type of support, what's the next steps? Do you go into a nursing home? What does my insurance cover? Do you have long-term care? All of these things are important, okay? So it's knowing what would be your living arrangements, your caregiving options at the time where you need 24-hour care. Where do you want to live? Can you go move in with your adult children or someone through your faith-based organization? Do you have Medi-Cal, not Medicare, but Medi-Cal that can cover, which is a county program that can cover these in-home care provider needs? And what are the costs involved? Can you maintain living independently in the event that you need 24-hour care? So it's thinking about those things as well is very important, because again, I cannot stress enough how many times I've seen a person go from, I just saw them walking up into the store and down the street and lively, and they have a major fall in their home. And then they may be left, if they live alone, left for a long time, have an injury, have a head injury, fractured hip, they injured their body. Now they have to go into the hospital. Now it takes rehabilitation, and they may or may not be able to return back to their home. So I've seen it so much in these last 11 years people not having these things in place already, or not having these discussions that if this were to happen, I want to do X, Y, Z. So again, I added this. It's not necessarily advanced planning legally, but I added this because so many times I've seen it, and they don't have things or not have these discussions, and now they're scrambling, and now this person doesn't know what's going to happen next to them. So dealing with financial matters, is there a durable power of attorney? Is there a will in place? So these are just those questions to ask. Now that something happens to a person, they may have passed on. Do they have these things in place? Did they have these things in place? Is there someone authorized to speak to Social Security, to Medicare, to the VA, to different providers. Are you authorized already to be on that person, speak on that person's behalf, whether it's your parent or a sibling? Is there a payee on a bank account? And you have to actually go into the bank, sit down and get those forms completed, but you can also have access to a person's banking information. Now, when I speak to older adults in general, I say be very cautious when you're doing all of these things, making these decisions, because you don't want to give a person this authorization and they take advantage of it. Because I see a lot of that too. A lot of financial abuse that happens in these instances. So tread lightly when you are making these decisions. Be very clear. Make sure this person is trustworthy. Okay, because I see a lot of fraud. I see a lot of financial abuse. So before you add someone to your bank account or make them your power of attorney, your durable power of attorney, be very clear that this person you trust them enough to give them those authorizations. Emergency funds. Again, life happens, right? We're often told have 3 to 6 months, but since COVID happened, that highlighted that that's not maybe enough. 6 to 9 months, a year of expenses covered that can sustain you. But do you have those funds? Are family members able to contribute if something were to happen and you can no longer work or take care of certain things? Do you have that support? Because again, there may be extraordinary healthcare, life costs that happen, and now you may not have the money, or you may get a high bill in the mail that you cannot no longer cover. So life insurance, retirement benefits. So knowing who is your primary beneficiary, looking at your policy. You may already have life insurance, whether it's a whole life, term policy, but have you revisited? Is this enough? Is all the information on there up to date? Have you changed addresses since you've opened your policy? Is the beneficiary capable of handling the distribution of, so sorry. Is the beneficiary capable of handling the distribution of funds? Are they trustworthy? Are they responsible? So thinking about what if something happens, will this person step up to the plate? Will they do what I feel is necessary? Will they handle all of my financial matters or arrangements? So again, I put this in here just to make sure that you revisit your policy. You may have already have one, but revisit it. All right, so in conclusion, just to summarize, talk to your loved ones, talk to your support circle, talk about these important topics, okay? Sooner rather than later. If you have not, do it today. Don't wait till tomorrow, because we'll put it off till it's too late, okay? Talk about the benefits of having an advance directive, not only for yourself, but making sure your other loved ones have one in place too as well. So we do have an organization that our office, my office, the Department of Aging, refers to when it comes to advance directives or even conservatorships. And we refer to BEDZEDIC. So at the end, if you want this number, you'll have the recording to take down this number, but we refer often to BEDZEDIC when it comes to legal matters, especially when it comes to advance directives, conservatorships, or getting that proper documentation in place. Obviously, we're not lawyers at the Department of Aging, so this is a partner that we have, a community partner that is a wonderful organization that can help you answer those legal questions in the event that you have those questions. So some responsibilities at death, the payment of debts or final expenses, funeral burial costs, have they been prepaid? Do you have memorial wishes? The collection of your life insurance benefits. So keeping all of your policy information in a folder or a file box. And I have a handout, it's called Where to Find My Important Papers. I'm gonna go over in just a second, but it talks about you fill it out to give to your loved ones, or your loved ones give it to you, so you will know where all of these important papers are. Because so many times I've seen people scrambling, they don't even know where did mom keep her insurance policy forms, or where are these retirement benefit, like they have no idea where this stuff is, okay? So funeral preparations, in the event that you have to prepare for a funeral, remembering the wishes of that person. Consider the living relatives, give your input, but make the final decision based on that person's wishes. What are the costs, your choices that you have? And consider cultural beliefs and traditions. So I wouldn't be a social worker if I didn't talk about the emotional aspect or dealing with loss, supporting the needs of family members, teenagers, the young children that may be left behind, allowing time for grief or mourning, moving forward with the living, and grief counseling and talking to someone. We don't heal when we hold it in, okay? So if you are dealing with a lot of stress, feeling overwhelming, handling these type of affairs, even if it's not regarding a funeral, but just dealing with the change that we're all experiencing now, please talk to someone. There's so many, you can even text and talk to someone. There's so many different options that you can have just to have an outlet of support. So it doesn't matter if you do it by phone. Some may be offering in person, but a lot of it is through Zoom, phone, or even text, but reach out for support. Or even reach out to LACERS for support. So grief is a price we pay for love. Once a person passes on and they're, person that we love and care for, grief is just a price that we have to pay for that, but we can deal with it with the support. All right, so in conclusion, start the conversation earlier rather than later. Why are we waiting about this? Time does not wait for no one, okay? So we need to have these things in place, but be sensitive. If a person tells you they want to be cremated and you don't agree with that, it's okay, be sensitive. That's what their wishes are. Involve spouses, partners, siblings, children, anyone in a support circle, because most conflicts occur through lack of communication. And keep your documents relevant, up to date, phone numbers, addresses. And some documents may change based on location. So if you move out of state, making sure that you keep these things up to date. Is this still legal in my state? And this is our phone number at the Department of Aging. We not only talk about advanced planning, but we offer an array of resources to older adults, to family caregivers. So don't hesitate to give us a call if you have questions about resources. It can be whether it's legal, housing, food. We get all kinds of questions. So please don't hesitate to contact us. And before I close, I want to just show you that last document that I discussed. All right, hopefully everyone can see. So this is the where to find my important papers. So put your name, date prepared, copies given to, and you will select where are your valuable papers. Are they in your house? Okay, if they're in your house, where are they? If they're in a safe deposit box, where is that? Or if it's in another location, you write it down. And this document is, you can type, so good, making sure everyone can read your writing. And then when you go through, here's a list of items, whether it's your will, you will select whether you have it in the A location, the B location, or the C location. And you will go through all of these different ones. You can add some other things here, but you will put which of the locations are your important documents. So I recommend making multiple copies of this, filling out one for yourself, getting your other loved ones, family members to fill this out. Everyone knows where everyone's stuff is, because that should be the least of your worries. And you have a traumatic experiences. Now, where are all these forms? You have to figure out where are all these forms. And I'm sure Janet will second that she sees that a lot, that dealing with legal matters is having the paperwork handy is so important. Over time, people move, things get lost. So making sure that everyone knows where are your important papers is so important. So you all are going to get this form. You're all going to get the 5 wishes, a sample version. And if you decide you really want a 5 wishes, you can, the information to order is on the back. But also you can just find a 5 wishes. There are free versions of different advanced directives, and you can use that too. Long as you just have the paperwork, okay? As long as you have something in place, just make sure that you have it. So I wanted to conclude here and just say thank you for listening. I hope this was valuable, helpful, that'll get your mind thinking. You may have some of this stuff, you may need to get something else, but I just hope that, you know, you take this time to prepare is so important. And thank you all for listening, okay?
Now to Claudia. Claudia Batriz Flores. She is a benefit analyst with the legal processing unit at LACERS. She's fabulous. I've heard her presentation at one of the board meetings, really enjoy her presenting. She has worked for the city of Los Angeles for nearly 6 years, with 2 of those being with LACERS. Claudia holds a degree in criminal justice, and prior to working for the city of Los Angeles, she worked in the nonprofit sector with victims of interpersonal violence as an advocate. We are so delighted to have Claudia present on the LACERS Durable Power of Attorney. I'll now give it over to Claudia.
Okay, good morning. Thank you, everyone. So I'm just going to do a somewhat brief overview of the LACERS Special Durable Power of Attorney. Now, this power of attorney is for LACERS members specifically, both active and retired. It is a completely free document and service that we offer for our members, and you can find it online at our website at lacers.org. So here I am on the homepage. If you go to forms and info sheets, you will see all of our forms and sheets. And you just scroll down, they're in alphabetical order. We're going to scroll to power of attorney. Here you'll see that there's 2 options. We have the actual power of attorney form, and then we have a fact sheet. When you click on them, it'll bring you up to, it'll open a new tab for each. So here's the fact sheet, and we'll go over that briefly, as well as briefly go over the actual power of attorney document, which is 7 pages. And we'll talk about some specific areas to pay attention to. So what is the special durable power of attorney? As I mentioned, it's a legal document. You, the member, designate an agent or an attorney in fact, the same person, go by different names, and they're to act on your behalf if, for whatever reason, as you heard earlier from Erica, you're unable to manage your LACERS pension-related benefits. And as mentioned, it's free to all members, both active and retired. Do you need a power of attorney? Well, this is a question only you can answer. It's personal and specific to you, but one of the benefits of having a power of attorney is that your agent can manage your LACERS related retirement benefits in the event that you are not able to handle your affairs. Whether that means you're incapacitated or another event, you can designate someone to handle those matters for you. If you don't have a power of attorney on file with LACERS, whether it be the LACERS one or one that you may already have, your relatives or whomever you want to designate will not be able to handle any of your matters. Oftentimes, members think that a spouse has access to the LACERS account and can easily call and get information or make any sort of needed changes, and that's not true. Your spouse doesn't have immediate access to that. So that's something to keep in mind. Without a power of attorney, if you as a member are incapacitated, then you would have to get a conservatorship, which is a court-ordered document, and that is time-consuming and can also be expensive. And something of note, since a health directive power of attorney was mentioned, that's not the same as a special durable power of attorney for LACERS purposes, and LACERS cannot use the healthcare directive for your LACERS benefits because it doesn't handle financial or benefit matters. It only handles your healthcare instructions. So what's covered again under the power of attorney? It's your LACERS benefits, and you are, you the member have the right and authority to grant specific rights to your agent or overall rights to make changes to all transactions and benefits. The document goes into effect either immediately or at the time of incapacity. That's up to you. You can designate your agent to have rights immediately, and I'll direct you over to the power of attorney document. One thing to note is that it does terminate upon your death. So your agent is no longer your agent and doesn't have any rights over your LACERS benefits once you're deceased. And so you can decide that you want to have the power of attorney effective upon incapacity. You would initial here. And in order to determine incapacity, we require at least one physician's letter stating that you, the member, are no longer are incapacitated and no longer able to manage your affairs. If you don't initial there, then it'll be effective immediately upon city attorney approval. It does take about 2 to 3 weeks for our city attorneys to review and approve the document. If you like, you can also request for more than one physician's letter to be required to deem you incapacitated. And there's a section in page 2 where you can, on these lines here after this paragraph, you can write any sort of special instructions there. So if you want 2 doctors or more for deeming of incapacitation, that's where that would go. You can amend, revoke, or terminate your power of attorney at any time, as long as you have not been declared incapacitated. And any and all changes have to be in writing. If you enter into a new power of attorney, whether it be LACERS or another one, and we don't receive it, we don't have it on file, reviewed and approved by city attorney, then we can only go off of, the most recent document that we have. And so the document is in effect until you decide to terminate it or revoke it, or you give us a new document. And as I mentioned, you can get it online if for whatever reason you're unable to download it. Unfortunately, this isn't a fillable form. You can't click on the lines and type in. You'd have to download it, print it, and then you can mail or fax or email it to us. But it's easily accessible online. If you ever have any questions about it, you can also contact the legal processing unit, and any of the staff in the unit would be able to help you with that. So I'm just going to go over it briefly. Page 1, the principal is you, the member, and the name of the person appointed. Sometimes you'll see the agent or attorney in fact. That is all the same person. It's the person or persons who you appoint as your agent in fact, who's going to act on your behalf. And we have space here for 2 people. However, you can designate more. You would just have to attach that in a separate sheet. Any person that you are appointing as an agent in fact on your behalf, we're going to need a proof of their identification, a copy of their identification, excuse me, and they have to be adults 18 or over. So there's a section on whether here you can decide whether you want these people your agents to act jointly or separately. That means, do you want them to make decisions together, to sign for everything together, or either one or the other person can decide? Again, this is a section if you decide you want it effective upon incapacity as opposed to immediately. And there's a lot of places just to note that you need to sign and initial. So we have a section where you can just designate whether you want these agent or agents to designate beneficiaries for you and to designate themselves as beneficiaries. And again, that's completely up to you. You can pick one or the other or neither. If you already have your beneficiaries set and you don't want them changed, then you can leave that blank. Successors. So in the event that perverse person you name as your agent, let's say for example is your spouse, cannot act as your agent, or recuses himself as your agent, or if that person is deceased, passes away, then you can name someone else as a successor. And again, there's room for 2, but you can add more on a separate page. And that means that the successor is the next person in line to act as your agent. So say I name my spouse and then a sibling. And for whatever reason, my spouse can't act as my agent, my sibling would be my successor, and that would be the next person in line to act as my agent on my behalf. Just please, when filling out the form, pay special attention to all the places where it says principal initial here. That's the member's initial that goes there. Oh, another thing of note, if there is a section where we require your agent's signature, and I'll go to that page and point it out again. I believe it's this one, page 5. Yes, there's signature of agent. If you and your agents don't live in the same state, that's okay. You can mail page 5 to your agent or agents. They can fill it out, sign it, and then mail it back to you. So we were on 2, I'll go back there. 3, it's all of the legal jargon that I won't get into too much here, but you'll have to read it as it is something that you're agreeing to. Once you initial on page 4, it's basically A lot of what Erica was just mentioning, and I'm sure will be covered in the next presentation, is that you want to inform that person you want to appoint them as your agent. You want to make sure that you're aware of the powers that you're providing them, which means that they'll be able to make changes to your beneficiaries if you designate that, changes to, say, your direct deposit if you designate that. And if there's anything that you don't want designated, then you just fill it up here. So then you would initial to agree with all that. This section is for the person you're appointing as your attorney of fact or agent. This is what they will agree to. And again, as the principal, you initial here. Please make sure to provide us a copy of your identification, of your agent's identification. Lastly, the power of attorney needs to either be witnessed by adults or be notarized. It doesn't have to be both. It can be one or the other. If you do, I do want to point out that if you do look at the frequently asked questions form, the fact sheet online, it does say that we offer notary services, which we did to our members in the past. However, because of COVID restrictions, our office is closed, and at this moment we are unable to offer notary services. So you would, if you want it notarized, you'd have to have that on your own. Make sure that if you're getting the document notarized as the member / principal, you're not signing it until you get to your notary. But however, you don't have to have it notarized. You can have it witnessed by 2 adults, and we do need 2 adults to witness it over the age of 18. Those 2 witnesses cannot be party to the document, meaning they can't be someone you've named as your agent or attorney in fact, and they can't be the successors. So it has to be 2 separate adults. So if you name 2 agents, 2 successors, then we're talking about 2 other people that would have to witness that. And we do require a copy of identification for each witness as well. And you can submit, because of the COVID times, you can submit a copy to us via email, via fax, or through mail. If you need a copy sent to you, as opposed to you downloading it, contact us or via 100 and request a copy sent to you. As mentioned, is important for members to at least consider it and review it and see if it's something that you would want to enter into, because again, in the event that you are incapacitated or for whatever reason you're unable to make any changes or get any information on your own LACERS account, we are unable to release information without either a power of attorney on file with us or another legal document such as a guardianship or a conservatorship. However, those are court appointed documents. Now, if you have your own power of attorney already that you had, drawn up before, or you decide to enter into a different power of attorney, not the LACERS one, you're also welcome to send that to us. Again, mail, email, or fax. Those also have to be reviewed by our city attorney's office. So the turnover time for that is 2 to 3 weeks. I would say more like 3 weeks. Our city attorney will review it, and upon review and approval of the document, it will be updated into your file here at LACERS, and you'll receive written notification of approval or denial of that document. If you have any questions further from this on how to fill out the document or anything like that, again, you can always contact the legal processing unit either via email or phone, and we are more than happy to assist you with that.
Thank you, and please watch part 2.